Good morning, y'all. It is Thursday, January the 7th, 2021. I'm not going to ask my usual question this morning, which is usually, how's everybody doing? I think I have a pretty good idea of how everybody's doing today. I think the gloomy, dreary, cold, rainy weather probably reflects a lot of how most of us are feeling this morning after witnessing the chaos in the U.S. Capitol yesterday. I really struggled with what to say to you guys this morning. Like most of you, I sat in disbelief as I watched the events unfold on live television in front of me yesterday afternoon. Thought a lot about it throughout the night, prayed a lot about it, got up early this morning, just trying to process, everything that happened and the fallout from that. One of my favorite books that I got for Christmas is this one. It's called The Little Book of Answers. And I really like it because it's just kind of random questions that are asked and answer questions that you may never have thought about, but answers about all kinds of random things. Like, for instance, why is New York called the Big Apple? I didn't know until I read about it in here. A couple of other questions. Let's see, why do we call an enthusiastic amateur a buff? And what exactly is a family circle? It's kind of interesting the way that phrase family circle came about. Reminds me a little bit of Jeopardy in a book. As I was looking through this, some of my books on my desk this morning, my eyes fell on this one and I thought, golly gee, I wish there was a page in here where I could open it up and the question would be, what the heck? What the heck? And then I could find an answer in there that would satisfy the what the heck question about the events that happened yesterday. But there's no such page in that book. Answers for things like what happened yesterday and many of the things that happened to and around us in 2020 are not always easy to come by. Sometimes there simply are no answers in our world. But in addition to the Little Book of Answers, one of my other favorite Christmas gifts was a brand new Bible, leather bound, that my husband got me for Christmas. And I guess you could kind of call it the Big Book of Answers. But I can't tell you that you can flip a page in the Big Book of Answers and ask what the heck and always get a clear and concise explanation for what's going on around us. What we can find in the Big Book of Answers are instructions on how to be a better human. When you read the Psalms, there are different scriptures in there that teach us how to deal with adversity and with disagreements that we might have with other people. Jesus, when asked what was the greatest commandment, said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's a great instruction for being a good human. Doesn't say you have to like them. Doesn't say you have to agree with them all the time. But there are better, more constructive rather than destructive ways for us to work through all kinds of disagreements, from the so-called minor ones that we may have on any given day to the major ones like we saw erupt yesterday. There's also a verse in the New Testament in John. It's John 16:33. And the back end of that verse says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart because I have overcome the world. We've certainly seen a lot of trouble in our world in recent months, certainly in the past year leading up to what happened yesterday. Trouble not just in the political arena, but in the medical field. We've been dealing with COVID. We've had all kinds of natural disasters that have happened, not just in the United States, but around the world. We've had a lot of trouble. So maybe the scripture can help you overcome the feelings that you have about that trouble and try to redirect them in a more positive way. The front end of the scripture says, I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. It doesn't say that we can find peace in the world. We can't most of the time, and if we do, it's not going to last. But Jesus tells his disciples later on, my peace I give to you. And there are going to be times in life where we just have to say, I have to accept your peace. You have to give me your peace because I can't find any right now. My prayer for you and for our country today is that we all just take a step back. Just take a step back and breathe and pray and look for ways to resolve our differences that do not result in destruction, but that result in more positive construction of ways to work through our differences. Not everybody's going to be happy every time any decision is made. I don't care if it's in the boardroom or if it's in the Oval Office. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't happen around the kitchen table all the time in your family. But if we're good humans, we can find ways to work through those differences so that we don't have the disruption that only serves to cause more turmoil in our souls, in our families, in our communities, and in our world. I wish I was a wise old woman. I'm just an old woman. But I hope that these words that I've given you today have had some merit, and that we all will think about better ways to respond. Whether it's giving up yelling at the television when we see something we don't like, yelling at the driver next to us, having angry reactions to people or situations with which we disagree. If we can stop doing those things and focus on trying to have a more constructive approach, follow that greatest commandment. If you can't love your neighbor, at least let's stop hating on them and try to find a way to rebuild the peace and the respect that we can all have for each other. I probably ought to start talking now because I feel like I'm rambling, and I hope what I've said has helped you. I'm praying for you and for me and for our world, and I hope you'll join me in doing the same. And God willing, I'll see you in the morning. Here's a PS for you. Almost immediately after I signed off from this morning's message, I turned around and looked over my shoulder, and the sky was beginning to clear, and the sun is on its way out. I'm going to take that as a good sign. I hope you do too.